Hey, we are live, and perhaps the audio is synced. Maybe it's not, but it's a Friday, and got my mug of coffee here. I hope you got your coffee. Have a sip. Big Daddy's in the house. Got a number of people live. As a reminder, we're also live on X, although nobody seems to watch over there. But that's okay. We got something to build on, right? We got a couple people on Rumble, couple people on YouTube, and I've got an exciting show for you today. I got a little slide presentation to talk about a concept and basically something to make you go, you know, old school. What was that, Arsenio Hall? Make you go, Or was that CNC Music Factory? Something like that. Anyway, now that we're here, let's get to the topic, the main topic today, which is the new crime is asking to look. You know, there was a time when scrutiny meant accountability. Audits were normal. Questions were how systems proved they worked. Now, asking to look is treated like sabotage. Yeah, we don't argue about the truth anymore. We argue about permission. We followed the process. Experts reviewed it. There's nothing to see here. And the moment someone says, okay, yeah, can we verify that? The reaction isn't curiosity, it's alarm. Why are you questioning this? Why are you undermining trust? I've heard that before. Why are you reopening settled matters? In every other domain, scrutiny builds confidence. Banks, they got to have audits, right? Science needs replication, okay? Companies, they invite inspection. Only fragile systems fear being checked. A system that punishes scrutiny isn't protecting democracy. It's protecting certainty it can no longer prove. My name's Tom Coffey. This is the Coffee Nuance Show, the best streaming show you happen to be watching right now. Flame on. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we are. Here we are. Here's the thing, right? This used to be boring. Audits, inspection, verifications. Asking to look was how you built trust in things. And today it's treating it as though it's some kind of destabilizing agent, right? We no longer lost the ability to investigate, we lost permission. So remember, this used to be consensus. Let's see if I can. This used to be consensus. Let me get that. There we go. There we go. Now I can see what I'm referencing. In every functional system that we had, right? Audits were confidence. Right? Questions, that was strength. And transparency meant legitimacy. And this wasn't ideological, it was managerial. Okay, so just think, bank audits, scientific replication. This didn't used to be controversial. It used to be being an adult. However, now these same behaviors, there's a totally new interpretation that we're seeing. We're seeing questions framed as bad faith, destabilizing, irresponsible. Nothing changes. And nothing did change except the moral meaning behind it. So here's the idea. The procedural closure is we followed the steps, right? And the epistemic certainty is we actually knew. So at some point, we decided that these were equivalent, right? Following the steps and actually knowing something. They're not equivalent. Procedure is not truth. It's a substitute when the real truth is expensive. Okay. So I just want to reassure now. This doesn't require villains. Large systems are optimized for reputation protection, narrative stability. Reopening questions is punished, not rewarded. You don't need corruption, you just need incentives. Don't argue fraud. Don't argue innocence. Here's the key idea here. When a senior figure shows up personally, it means that secondhand certainty wasn't enough. The performance of certainty was questioned. Presence isn't proof. It's dissatisfaction with pretending. Okay? And we're going to get to that in a story today about Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and why she showed up in Georgia this week. Okay? But here's the final takeaway. A system that punishes scrutiny isn't protecting democracy. It's protecting certainty it can no longer prove. That's it. All right, we got a good show to get to today, so I don't know. Let's get to it. And you know what? We'll see. We will see if any of the little adjustments that I made actually work in the studio, or if I have to go back and fix some more stuff. Nice to see you too, Bastille. Glad you're back. But let's get to this story. I think it's a big story. And if you have any faith in me, you'll go with me on this. But let's see. We'll get that on. Here we go. And here's the story. So President Trump claims that Tulsi Gabbard was present at a Georgia election facility to ensure election security. And this raises questions about her role and her intentions. Oh my goodness, people are going nuts over this story. But what does this imply about Tulsi Gabbard? Are there things that we can speculate all we want? But what's this really about? Well, it goes back to this main topic that I was talking about today, which is systems that actually work don't mind if you make sure they work. Okay? I'm not making any claims that there was any kind of shenanigans with the 2020 election in Georgia. We don't have necessarily evidence of that, and I would never even make that claim, especially given how certain platforms operate, okay? But anytime you have a system and you're not allowed to check and make sure that it's working right, you don't really have a system you can trust. And I think that having the oversight having the oversight of the Director of National Intelligence down there to make sure that all of the evidence is collected properly, I think that should restore trust in elections. Sorry that the audio is not synced, but that's something else I can work on this weekend. Oh, what a glorious Saturday I will have. I will be going live, because here's the thing. If I record it, it's always perfect. It's when I go live that somehow things get a little off. So I'll go live this weekend a couple times just to do some tests. We'll get that sorted out. But the thing is, Tulsi Gabbard should be seen as a new face of bipartisanism in an effort to protect elections. But according to some, she's a pawn in Trump's game of, I don't know, taking over the country and never having elections again. But you can decide what you think is reality on that. And we got a lot of different stories to get to today, so let's just get into it. Here we go. Mom Dami. The commie. Just kidding. He goes for a winter storm to a fiscal one. Yes. So his transition from addressing a winter storm to tackling fiscal challenges highlights a shifting focus on political leadership in crisis management. So here's what he did. He came out and said, "Oh my God, New York City's broke. What are we going to do? I think we're going to have to raise taxes and maybe cut some services." But I couldn't have foreseen this months ago. Yeah. Which is funny if anyone actually believes that. You know, I have such a hard time talking about this. In many ways, I feel like, part of it is New York deserves what they get. You've heard that. We have the leaders we deserve, right? You've heard that before. And I know that people say that about Portland, right? Well, you voted for them. You voted for them. But there's a lot of people that didn't. And the whole city suffers when poor management comes in. Let's just see what Mamdani does, but at least he's acknowledging that they don't got the funds to do all the programs that he wanted to do. So maybe he's just not going to do them. We'll see. Yeah, that is a good question, Jordy G. Safe and effective? Let's hide the data for 75 years. that is true. But we'll eventually get this audio synced. All right. What's the next story? Let's get into it. A seat on Trump's Board of Peace costs $1 billion. Guess who gets the money? Well, I will say that sounds a bit like a jaded, slanted news story from Slate. Well, here's what they say. They say Donald Trump is proposing a Board of Peace to address global conflicts, and the tag is $1 billion for the seat. Now, notable leaders from China, India, and Russia have not yet responded to that. Critics everywhere are questioning who will actually benefit from this financial commitment. Okay, well, here's my prediction. Slate has totally framed this story in a way that is just a bunch of nonsense. Who gets the money, right? Are they going, is it, who gets the money? Well, does this article actually say? No. This article just goes through and speculates and talks about all the naysayers in it. And I feel like that's what social media is talking about politics today. This story is just an example of this. You bring up something, right? You make some claims, you imply some things, and then you never really fact check anything, right? But I say $1 billion. If it's $1 billion for peace, that's a pretty good buy. That's a pretty good buy. But that is something that I'll keep an eye on and find out in the future what happens with this Board of Peace. I think right now it's just a bunch of talk. But as it is Friday, we got to have a little scary story, right? Well, here's your Friday scary story. OpenAI, that does ChatGPT, wants to create biometric social network to kill X's bot problem. Oh my goodness, you're telling me that Sam Altman wants to do something that might hurt Elon Musk's X? Wow, that comes as a total shock. And how does he propose that this happens? Well, OpenAI is developing a biometric social network aimed at eliminating bot accounts that plague current platforms like X, TikTok, and pretty much every social media. And by utilizing advanced biometric verification methods, similar to Apple's Face ID, which I've never signed up for, the network would ensure verified human interaction. Okay? So what he's asking for is, hey, let's take biometrics on all people on the planet. I mean, that could never go wrong. It's not like that information could get leaked out. Now, just a little let you know about things leaking out. I live in Oregon, and guess what? Over 90% of the files on the DMV were leaked on the dark web. My bank, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I can't remember when, oops! All of their files got leaked onto the web. I chose a local bank. I thought, oh, a local bank, that'll be a little safer than like a Bank of America or something. No, all of that was released onto the web. And pretty much, I think any system that holds valuable data, eventually it is going to get leaked onto the web. So what could go wrong with having Sam Altman attached to OpenAI, ChatGPT, have access to all your biometrics? Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. You know, you can use AI to figure out if someone is a bot or not. Like, we already have that technology. You don't need people's biometrics to do that. But, yeah, nice try, Fed. All right, what do we got next? Oh, no. Oh, no. This is not a headline you want to read. My colon literally blew up. Thousands sue over GLP-1 weight loss drug side effects. Well, a surge of lawsuits is challenging the safety of GLP-1 weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, with over 4,400 plaintiffs claiming severe side effects such as colon ruptures and vision loss. But they're thinner, am I right? Now, patients allege they weren't adequately informed of the risks. Well, here's a warning that you should have, in my opinion. If something sounds too good to be true, chances are it's too good to be true. Chances are. And as long as I've been alive, there have been magic pills to make you lose weight. They've been around, I don't know, since the 70s. Weight loss pills, and guess what? All of them have had side effects. It's no surprise to me that these drugs have side effects at all. But I guess blowing up your colon wasn't the kind of explosive results these people were looking for. Am I right? Oh, anyway, if you are interested in losing weight, maybe sometime I should talk about how I have lost, I'm probably down about 40 pounds or so in the past 6 months. And I didn't have to take any drugs for that at all. So maybe we'll talk about that sometime. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, let's, what else? What do we got next? Okay, Tucker Carlson has made some explosive claims. And I will say, and I love when people say, I will say, and then they say the thing. Just say the thing. You don't have to say, I will say. Some kind of verbal crutch, but I do it myself too sometimes. And he did talk about this on his latest podcast. Highly recommended. I think it's a fantastic podcast. But Tucker Carlson has accused Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Frey, of orchestrating a color revolution aimed at inciting civil unrest. This accusation comes amid heightened tensions surrounding political protests and social movements in the state. Carlson's comments have sparked a fierce debate about the state of democracy and the role of leadership in maintaining civil order. Well, you didn't have to listen to Tucker Carlson on that. You could have just asked me, because I've been saying that for weeks now. And all of the tactics that you are seeing in Minnesota are directly out of a playbook of exactly how certain agencies do this all over the world. And perhaps I'll have to make a video explaining what each of those are, step by step. But I don't know. Is there any way to make money off of this? Can we start a color revolution merch store? I don't know. We should get something good out of this. But the thing is, these topics are complicated, right? And when you hear about a color revolution, people don't know what a color revolution is. They don't understand how everything works. And if something is too complicated, it's just pushed off and ignored that's just too much for me to take in right now. And I understand. Actually looking into stories, going into depth on things is not fun. And it's probably what most people don't want. But I think that Carlson did a really nice job of explaining this in a simple way. And you can check it out on his latest podcast, where he's talking about chaos and who benefits from chaos. And so I would encourage you over the weekend, if you need something good to listen to check it out. Now, good news for some, maybe not for justice, but here we go. No death penalty for Luigi Mangione. A Biden judge has ruled. Now, this is a controversial ruling. Federal judge has decided against the death penalty for Mangione, accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Judge Margaret Garnett, appointed by Biden, surprise, surprise, ruled that evidence from his backpack, including a handgun, is admissible, despite defense claims of illegal search, Prosecutors argue that to pursue the death penalty charge, they must establish an underlying violent crime, which has become a legal battleground as jury selection approaches. How about the underlying violent crime of cold-blooded murder? To me, that seems like an underlying crime, but I don't know. That's just me. I'm no legal expert, clearly. But, you know, as they say, it's a tough day for the prosecutors. They thought they had a slam dunk. Turns out it's just an easy layup. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with this. I think it will be, again, you know, trial of the year. Mangione, they'll probably cover it live. Now, I don't know if we found out yet if is this going to be televised? Because that should be really exciting if this is a televised. Crazy, though. I think crazy that a judge can just rule, no death penalty in this case because, I don't know, he's cute. I don't know, that seems weird. That seems weird. But anyway, here's some news that may excite some people, hashtag not all. Don Lemon has been arrested. Yeah, former CNN anchor, now working as a independent journalist. He was arrested by federal agents in L.A. for allegedly. Continue reading. Oh, come on. The Verge wants me to give them $5 a month. Well, you know what that means. The Verge will no longer be in the list of bookmarks I use to to find stories. I'll just delete The Verge from potential sources. See, congratulations, The Verge. You just lost a reader. Okay. Now, is this press freedom? Is the government targeting journalists who are just innocently covering peaceful protests? What does this mean for independent journalists? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't think he was just covering this story. That's my opinion. It looks like he coordinated with this group to break the law. And I'm being generous there. I spoke about this earlier in the week. I don't care how noble your cause is. You can protest on the sidewalk. You can protest in public. You're not allowed to walk in to a church and disrupt it. Shame. Shame on Don Lemon. And frankly, I'm happy that he got arrested. I shouldn't be, because probably this is going to raise his profile even more so, and he can play the martyr. But I think anyone else that did this, the same would happen to him. So it's just nice to see that people should be treated equally under the law, and I think that's something that we should all get behind. Now what do we got? What do we got? The Hill. Once again. The Hill with their video that has nothing to do with the article. But I guess this is some good news, because the DOJ has released its final batch of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, totaling 3 million files. So I know what you're doing today. This move fulfills a congressional mandate and aims to shed light on the extensive network surrounding Epstein's activities. Again, what this is doing is it's showing transparency. And when we have transparency in things, we have a little bit more faith in them. Now, I think it would be fair to say that if I were the outgoing administration and there were a bunch of files that implicated me, they might be gone before I left office. That's just my take. So this doesn't necessarily, this transparency doesn't build trust for all people. I understand that, but I think we should be pro-transparency. Trump did say that he would release all the Jeffrey Epstein files, and hey, look at this. A year later, it's finally all done. So I guess that's a promise made, promise kept. Kind of drug his feet a little bit, but yeah, 3 million documents. Whew. You know, I don't even read the terms of service on apps, you know, so I don't know that I'll be going through all 3 million of these. I did look at some of the things that were being reported initially about it, and the juiciest one that I saw was that allegedly Bill Gates caught an STI from Russian women and he was looking to get antibiotics so that perhaps he could put them in his wife's coffee. Ooh. Now, I don't know if it was coffee, but some of the stuff that was in there, apparently he was looking to get some antibiotics because he didn't want to tell his wife, and maybe his wife caught an STI from Bill. Yikes. And what's Bill Gates doing with Russian women? I thought that was only Trump, right? I mean, does this mean that Bill Gates is compromised by Putin? Is Bill Gates a Putin puppet? Well, it's funny, we're not hearing that from anybody on the left, are we? Even though we actually have some evidence of that now. Whew, wow, how about that? Anyway, I guess the next two stories, I'm just going to say they're good news. You can be the judge of it. I could use good news to pull me through. Here's the headline from the BBC. UN risks imminent financial collapse. Secretary General warns. Antonio Guterres has issued a grave warning about a potential financial collapse of the UN by July, attributing the crisis to unpaid fees from member states. This alarming situation raises questions about the UN's ability to fulfill its global responsibilities and shenanigans. Well, I'm not a big fan of the UN, and I think the UN is tied in with all kinds of shady business, so the fact that they might face financial collapse, I see that as good news, but maybe you don't. Maybe, you know, you're a person that just believes the marketing of what the UN is. And despite all of the bad things that the UN is tied to, it is important to have a place for countries, world leaders to get together, to be able to communicate. So even though the UN is tied in with all kinds of things that seem extra shady to me, they do serve a purpose. Okay. You know, I don't know that they'll be having any bake sales, you know, to keep it up. You know, they could use some of the money, the gains from, you know, gun running and things like that. But what do I know? Anyway, big crisis at the UN, and I'm not too upset about it. Anyway, here's the other Good news story. Good news-ish. Trump reopens airspace over Venezuela, restores direct U.S. flights after 5+ years. Yeah, that's right. Who's ready to vacation in Caracas? Trump has reopened commercial airspace over Venezuela, allowing direct U.S. flights for the first time in over 5 years. The U.S. is poised to oversee the country's budget and oil projects. Boy, that doesn't seem shady, does it? Trump assures the safety of American travelers. Critics question the legality and transparency of the U.S. increasing control over Venezuelan affairs. Yeah, me too. Especially with Qatar's involvement in managing Venezuelan oil sales. Wow, you're telling me that somehow Qatar might have some influence over people in our government? Color me shocked. Well, I did decide to look into it. I got on Google Flights. I was going to see, hey, how much are flights? Let's see if we got any direct flights. Let's see if we can travel to Caracas. What kind of deals do we got? Well, nothing yet. Apparently, it is still being approved. So, of all airlines, American Airlines has already put in that they want to have direct flights from the U.S. to Caracas, to Venezuela. But it has yet to been approved, and once it is approved, they're looking at later in the spring, late spring, early summer, they will start doing flights to Venezuela. And you know what? Let's call that good news, right? Because typically, I'm just saying typically, we don't bomb countries that we have direct flights going to, right? I heard an old joke, we don't really bomb countries that have McDonald's. And it's true. It is true. So I see this as good news. You can decide if that's good news or not. I think a lot of what's happening in Venezuela is, I'm not a super big fan of it. I don't care for the way we just took a world leader. But here's the shocking thing for you. I see the Democrats and the Republicans both cool with taking the resources of Venezuela. So, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? Yeah. I'm trying to put a good spin on this. Hey, but maybe we'll have direct flights and we can go new place on vacation. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, that is all I have prepared for you today. Stick around in the after show. I will be saying hi to everyone, go through your comments. I will recheck this show, see if I can work on the audio sync. And again, what we're trying to do here is make improvements every day. So thank you for helping me make improvements. You can do that by hitting the like button. And you know what? Perhaps on Monday, we can get enough people. Maybe we can get double-digit people on both platforms. And on Rumble, I could actually read an ad read and make 25 cents. But I need like 10 people watching, so maybe you can help me out with that. You can do that by liking and sharing and commenting and all that good stuff. Anyway, stick around for the after show. Have an awesome weekend. I will see you on Monday. Peace. All right, here we go. Here we go. What's up, Big Daddy? What's up, Bastille? Glad to see you back. I'm glad to see you back. Yes, and the audio is not synced. What I've done is I've done a, let me do this real quick. We'll do one of these. And then we'll do one of these. So that way, I can go back and we'll find out, is it just particular cameras? Is it all of them? So I'll try to get that. Yeah, the never-ending saga of the Epstein files. That's what it is. Netanyahu couldn't attend. He's wanted for war crimes by other countries. A little true there. Feel Good Friday. That's right. Thank you, Big Daddy, for throwing up the Flame and Coffee on the Rumble chat. I like that. Magic beans, explosive results. Exactly. Yeah, the GLP-1s, you could have seen this coming, couldn't you? That they have some magic peptides, some magic things, and all of a sudden you're losing weight, and there's no side effects. That's never happened once, right? You got to eat less. That's the key. You got to eat less. Eating less is very difficult to do. For the longest time, I would try to eat less, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And I would still get hungry, and I thought that and I still believe that my body was reacting in such a way that my body was lying to me and telling me that I was hungry when I actually didn't need to eat. And that's one of the problems when we're getting all this processed food. All these food scientists, they made it so you crave more of them. So I would say the best thing that you could do, at least to start to eat less, if you want to start to eat less, the number one thing you can do is stop eating processed food. That's going to change. It's going to take a while because we got to get it all out of our system, but just stop with the processed food. That'll be step one. My skeleton weighs 185 pounds, but chaos theory. That's right. Tucker does talk about chaos theory in his latest podcast. I encourage everyone to check it out. You turn lemons into lemonade, Tom. Thanks. That's the joke that I should have had. That's the joke that I should have had. I should run all this by you before the show, and you can help me out with this stuff here. Yeah, File 86. That is, I think that's where all the good stuff that Epstein had, I don't think it ever made it. And it was never going to see the light of day anyway. The United Nations is a money laundering scheme. Well, yes, but there are a lot of other things as well. The UN should start holding their meetings in Davos. Yeah. I think it is nice that they got the place in New York City, and, we kind of bring people from all over the world together. Again, they're not 100% bad, right? Hey, what's up, Chaka Chewy? Late, but you're here. Well, glad you're here. Yeah. We're a world leader. Venezuela is Venezuela. They're not leading the world anywhere. That is true. I personally, I don't think, if you want to arrest someone, you have to actually make the case. And in this case, if they wanted to arrest Maduro, they should make a case on why and put the evidence out there. I didn't see that they did that, but I don't know. Fasting is life-saving. Yeah, I'm pro fasting. Basically, right now, what I'm doing is I'm eating just one time a day, right? So, 23 hours a day, I'm not eating anything. Um, and at first, that was very, very difficult. But after a while, I got used to it. And my body got used to it. It says the last camera is slow. Well, that's good to know because it's on a different system, and I think I'll be able to fix it. So that's something that I'll work on this weekend, amongst other things. Um, yeah. Chaka Chewy says it's hard at first, but if you get through the first day, it's not that bad. Uh, we're all different. That's the thing. And not only are we all different, we're all different. Like, I'm not the same person I was a year ago, right? My body is working differently than it was a year ago. And so that was one of the most frustrating things for me is I'd go to my doctor and I would explain just how freaking hungry I got. I would just get hungry in the evening. No matter what I did, I just got hungry. And I didn't get a lot of empathy from the doctor. He's like, well, you just got to eat less, For me, what the key was to make sure that what I was eating was really well-rounded. I actually worked with Grok, and I explained my situation with Grok, and Grok made sure, hey, make sure you're getting enough fat, right? Yeah, I was doing the protein, I was doing okay on the carbs, but I wasn't having enough fat. It's like, oh, you got to make sure that you have the fat, protein, and carbs. You want to have the right mix of it for you, and that's going to take dialing it in. And so what I would do is I would weigh everything that I ate, and I input that in and take a picture of it and wrote down everything that I ate, and I put that into Grok. And then it would ask me, hey, how did you feel with that? It's like, oh, you know what? Have a few less sweet potatoes. Here, why don't you, have half an avocado. Let's bump up the fats a little bit. And really worked with me, or whatever you want to say, to dial in exactly the macros that I should be having every day so that I didn't get hungry in the evening. That's what I did, and it really worked out. Glad you're back on YouTube. Well, I'm glad you're back on YouTube too. Cool. Well, thank you, Big Daddy. I appreciate that. Too quiet. I'm not sure what is too quiet. Am I too quiet? Okay. Okay, I got it. Big Daddy says the UN should have been in Davos because that's where the actual people that run the world are. Well, that's where the representatives for the people that run the world are. I would probably agree to that. They snatched up Maduro like he was an illegal up in Minneapolis. Yeah, they did. I think it's kind of BS to just roll into another country and grab the leader. But you know what? I know that most people do not agree with me on Venezuela. I am aware of that, and I am not trying to convince you that I'm right at all. I'm just saying for me, I'm a little uncomfortable with that. I know that we'd probably have a problem, right? If Mexico decided, hey, we don't like how Texas governor is doing business, and then they rolled in and grabbed the governor of Texas and brought him back to Mexico for a trial, we'd probably have a problem with that, So just saying. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope you all have an awesome, awesome weekend. I'll be back on Monday with a show that is synced. The audio and video will match up. That's my promise. Anyway, have an awesome weekend. Until then, let's see. Yeah. Until then, peace.